maintain Kama Billiat in this match?
You know, it's quite a little bit difficult. Kama is a tricky player, and he has a lot to offer, you know. And you don't. The only way they can avoid damage from him is by just, you know, try to not to give him chance in the attacking third, because he is dangerous with the passing. He's dangerous. He can also eye for the goal. So I think they need to bring in a very good tactic in terms of containing a player. But it can be a difficult match because they are all going to focus on him. If they are to focus on him, then it's quite difficult to just give him space. You know, if you give him space, it's difficult for the team to defend. So they need to balance up the way they are going to play. Yes, they might be wanting to go up front, but they need to be cautious. Every time when he gets the ball, he's quite a dangerous player. We don't know what he can do. It's either go, or he can dribble, or he can pass. So they need to be tactically aware in terms of containing players who are most notable and dangerous in the play.
Also remember that the headline, the highlight measure of today is also the log leaders Simba Bora taking on Harare Giants, Makepekepe Caps United at Shamva. It was a nice stadium, and soon later on we'll be joined by Terence Malanga. But just as talking about this match, Simba Bora and Caps United, looks like Simba Bora, they are in for a treat in terms of reaching to get the championship. It's all about involvement of championship today.
Yeah, you know, a very tricky game, you know, in Shamva, but it's a decider for Simba Bora. They need to win this game, you know, by all means, and this is where they decide their fate. If you don't win this game, then they need to play 2 more games, or maybe 1 more game, because you never know in the last 3 games. But today's game, they are playing at home with a much decisive side, you know, against a good team, Caps United, which has been doing so well in the past few games. So I think it will be very good if they win in Chamba. Then they are not worried much about the last 3 games. They will probably be playing just for a draw, or maybe 1 win, and they have sealed the title.
And what are the chances? Because the stakes are high. We see FC Platinum being hot on their heels, and also looking at Simba Bora's current performance, they haven't lost at home.
Yeah, you know, it's like I said before, you know, the fate is in their hands. You know, they need to decide today's match. It's a very good game. It's not against Yadah, it's not against ZPC, it's not against Rangers, but it's against Caps United. A very good team which has been doing well, and it's a big club as well. They've got fans behind them, so they also need to capitalize to just be stable with their game and maintain their performance. In terms of their performance, they need to maintain from the first whistle. You know, it's a big game that they need to decide, get a win, and they are home and dry. So the chances are very high that they win this game, and if they win this game, they don't have problems in the last games.
And also, just away from the top side, let's just go down, slide down to the relegation matrix. We've seen the new boys are not actually going to stay long in the Premiership. We see Bigita Minerals, we see Wange, Chegutu Pirates, Arano Movers. Looks like they're about to face the dreaded shock.
You know, I noted, you know, it's been difficult for Chegutu Pirates since they were promoted. You know, also another factor was they've been travelers. They don't have a home ground. Maybe most probably they could have capitalized when they were playing exactly in Chegutu at Pupajina Stadium. Unfortunately, it was not fit enough, so they had to travel to Ngezi and use Ngezi as their home. So it's quite difficult, you know. Bikita, they started very well. They've been doing well. I think 3, 4, 5 weeks from the beginning of the season, they were in top 8 and top 6. They did very well in those games, but they later on faded. They started losing players. They lost players. I think they also lost Allen Gadzikwa. He had to leave, and some few noted players, they left Bikita Minerals. I'm not quite sure why they are struggling a little bit. I think they have got a very good sponsor, and maybe somehow there are issues with the sponsors. That's why their form is dipping. There might be some problem in terms of remuneration. And if you look at all the new boys, you know, they struggled in this league. The setup itself is quite difficult for them. It needs you to be home and enjoy all your games playing at home. It's quite difficult when you're traveling. It's the same as Bikita Minerals. They've all been playing in Sakuba Stadium. It's not easy. And also for the sponsor, it's not easy. Week in, week out, whether you're at home, you're always taking man out of, it's a cost, you know. So I think this might be the worst season for all newcomers.
So, what are lessons to be learned in terms of these new boys coming in the Premiership, and also going back to the Division 1, and looking also to maybe looking at other new teams coming in? So far, we have ZPC Wange coming in, and also we're looking forward for Kwekwe, be it Mose, Scotland, FC Wangu Mazodze. What are the lessons that should be learned from teams who are fighting for promotion in terms of maintaining position in the Premiership? Also, we have a different story from Zimbabwe.
You know, all the teams, they need to be strategically good. You know, they need to set up a plan. Whilst some of the teams like ZPC, they are already away. They are in the Premier League. If they've got a life for next year, then they need to start preparing what are they going to do and anticipate. Especially the time we are, there are less stadiums approved. But for them, the Wange Stadium is in use, so they will just have to worry about the budget traveling. So they need to be strategically well and maintain that strategy from the first game until they get to the middle of the season. Then they will know how they are going to maintain towards the end of the season. So this is very important for all teams, especially when they are coming in now. You see things are not well. We gave an example of Cheguru Pirates. They were playing all their games outside. You know, they never enjoyed home games. So what they need to do now is to have a strategic point where they sit down with all your stakeholders, find sponsors who can help you move around the country with all the teams around, so that they can meet and fulfill their fixtures without any problems.
Talking about sponsorship, how have you seen it in terms of looking at all these matches, there's clubs who have got maybe a proper sponsorship? How has it carried a strong impact in terms of a club's performance?
You know, it's all about motivation. As long the players are happy, you know, everything is sorted. I know, you know, before I was a former player, you might be staying in hotels and other things, but the remuneration for the players is very important. But if they have good remuneration, then you have a squad. And you won't have hassles in terms of controlling the players. You also can be, because you are going to meet all their demands and you fulfill fixtures with all the players available.
And back to today's game, we've seen behind us the teams that have been warming up and preparing for this match. Yadah taking on ZPC Kariba here at the Heart Stadium. Can we just talk about the formations that this two needs to maybe work out on? Yadah, we can say they are safely on a better position, but ZPC Kariba might be on a tricky part.
Yeah, for Yadah, you know, if they are to attack, it's not a problem. For me, I think they can imply and improvise 3-5-2 going up front, because they will try by all means to congest in midfield and going forward in numbers. As for ZPC, I think they will settle for a 4-4-1-1, maybe, because they are not sure. They want someone who can control behind the striker, who can be playing along the defensive midfielder, so that they control Kama Billiard in terms of attack. If Evans also is strict, so they need to safeguard at the back. So a 4-4-2 will help them in terms of containing Yadah, who are also enjoying the home turf.
And also maybe in the previous encounter, we have seen ZPC Kariba being the team to beat. But this time, how can the tables turn?
You know, Yadah, they are playing at home. You know, they have done so well when they are playing at Heart Stadium. I think it's going to be a difficult game, because not so many fields. If you can look at the text of the field, it's quite difficult for players from ZPC, because I'm not quite sure about the Kariba Stadium, Nyamunga Stadium, if it's because of the same turf. Because this turf can be an effect to certain players. If you're not used to play in this turf, it's quite difficult to push the ball, to run. In a space of 20 minutes, you might see they are going to be fizzling out a little bit because of the cramps and some other heavy muscles. So it can be an advantage for Yadah. this step because they train here usually, and this has been their home for the season.
And looking at Yadah's past performance in their last 5 outings, they carry 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. What are their chances ahead of this match?
I think it's not a bad result, It's not a bad record anyway. They did very well, and they've been doing well, in some games, despite losing 3-0 to FC. But they've got a chance, They need to capitalize on the home advantage. So they have got a chance in this match, and I'm not quite sure. We know ZPC doesn't do well, especially when they travel. It's quite difficult for them. But for Yadah, I think they've got a chance.
What can we say, the story behind a team when they travel? There are teams that can actually perform better when they are away. And looking at ZPC, seen them holding other teams to a draw. What is the secret behind in terms of traveling and playing at home in terms of performance?
Yeah, when you travel, some players, they are not used, Some players, they don't feel okay, they don't perform well, Yeah, especially if you give games when you're playing at Rufaro Stadium, if it's full and you've got some young players without experience, if you throw them into the fray, it's quite difficult. But for them, when they play at home, they usually do well, They feel we are at home, this is our place, so they have to defend the territory.
You talked about Rufaro Stadium, and I understand you're a former Dynamo's captain. Can you just tell me, how is the feeling since you have been in the pitch, and also, Rufaro Stadium and Dimbare, it's just something else. Can you just tell me, what is the feeling when you're a player playing at home and you see that hype? How does it actually have the impact in terms of maybe performing well to produce good results?
Yeah, as a player, when you're playing at home, especially when you train here. I give you an example. You spoke about Rufaro as well. It's quite good because we know every corner. You are playing at home. It's more like your home. You know whatever is within your yard. So it's easy also, and the reactions of the fans. The reactions of the coaches. The reactions of everybody at the stadium. When you are playing at home, this is an advantage. This is an advantage. You know the area. You do well during the area. No one can tell you what to do when you're at home. It's your own place. Yeah. And when you travel, it's quite difficult. You see some players, they've struggled in their career to play at Rufaro Stadium. It's been hard because of the crowd, and this has been a major setback for certain players who have never played very well when they played against Dynamos at Rufaro. So in this case, you see the Yadah players will enjoy more than the ZPC Kariba players. Right now, they are doing so well here as Yadah, but the ZPC will not do so well here. They don't know the place. For them, it's a new place, and they need to get used to the place. You might find that's when usually they can be scored earlier because they don't know the area as well. So it can be an effect to players playing away. Then they fail to defend themselves, and then when they play at home, they are really good because of knowing and understanding the atmosphere.
All right. Right now, let's cross over to hear from what the coaches had to say in terms of this match we are about to watch. Yadah taking on ZPC Kariba. All right, so let me take you to Stanley Katsande, who is on standby ahead of this match. But before we get to Stanley, can we just talk about your prediction ahead of this match? Just a quick one.
I think Yadah will win 2-0 for Yadah. 2-0 for Yadah.
2-0 for Yadah. How about ZPC Kariba? No chances.
I'm not fencing them. I'm not giving them any chance to score because I know the text of the match. It's quite difficult. Maybe they will get a goal, but I will stick to my 2-0. But this is not a good game for them.
All right, let's see how the first half will go on as Yadah are hosting ZPC Kariba. Over to you, Stanley.
Right, welcome to the Hart Stadium. It's, of course, the home of Yadah. And we expect a very good match this afternoon, simply because these two teams are fighting for their Premier League lives, and it certainly shows up that it can be quite exciting, because Yadah, being the home team, expect a victory, and the visiting side ZPC would like to pick up points so that they can avoid the dreaded chop at the end of this season. In the commentary box with me is John Kani, your match analyst. Joe, good afternoon and welcome.
Oh, thank you, Stanley. It's a good afternoon to all our viewers, and we are set here to watch a match between teams that are lying mid-table, which of course they are not playing for the league title, as it were, but mathematically, ZPC can still be relegated mathematically. But of course, holding all things constant, one would assume that they are with some measure of safety from relegation. But look, football is a crazy game. If they lose all their remaining games, and teams like Chegutu Pirates win their remaining games, you know, they can swap places. But look, this is just stretching it. We are looking at two teams that are lying mid-table. Yadah currently 11th with 37 points, and Kariba, ZPC Kariba, currently on 13th with 35 points. So nothing much separating the two teams. So we are just waiting to see a game that either team will be seeking to exert themselves and appear one up over the other.
Oh, yes, indeed. ZPC Kariba, a team that has come all the way from Kariba, near the big lake, Zimbabwe's biggest water body, are here to try and collect 3 points from Yadah, the home team, who would like to please their large legion of fans. Some of them still streaming into the stadium, the beautifully constructed Yadah Stadium, the Hut Stadium rather. A very impressive piece of architecture that we are seeing today. There we are with some gender balance in terms of match officials. Progress Chatsamwa is the lady in the picture, as the two teams are now going across to meet each other before kickoff. And this afternoon, the man in the center is Mr. Tichaona Tigere, and Progress Chatsamwa, as I said, is the first assistant referee, and Admire Chirara is the far side assistant referee. As the two teams now continue with the pre-match rituals before we get underway here at the Hut Stadium. The two teams for me, Joseph, ZPC Kariba is looking in red, but of course there are large patches of red with Yadah, red and white. Is this not going to be a conflict of colors?
Yes, I am actually looking at that, and I'm realizing the two teams are actually playing with some measure of red, just depending on the percentage of the red. But if one were to look at it and stretch it, well, maybe not stretch it, but evidently the two teams are playing in similar colors, which I wonder why this was allowed to happen. You want to question the team, the kit managers. Did they not communicate? Certainly they could have played in more contrasting colors than we are seeing this afternoon.
Yeah, we saw ZPC Kariba warming up in all white, which could have been quite handy in this match because, look, Yadah were wearing red, but now they've got the two colors. That makes life difficult. I hope that, the players will not confuse their teammates as we see the match official, Mr. Tigere, putting the ball into the center. As we take a look at the teams here, Yadah lining up with us. Poster boy Kamabiliat wearing just number 11. That is the man to watch for ZPC Kariba. And a number of other good players along in that lineup. And that's the far side of the Yadah Stadium. The crowd still to come and fill up this stadium. Let's see the Kariba now. ZPC Kariba in all red. Well, they do not have high-profile players, but of course there will be players like Stanley Ngala, formerly of Highlanders, who certainly pose a big threat to